I'm Damon Zell, and it's time for your Eve Echoes Weekly News Update, where we dive into all the happenings of the week. But first, if you can tag that subscribe button, ring that bell, and share the video, new this week, then you too can stay up to date with everything that this channel has to offer. Now first, I do have a correction from last week's video, where it was believed that BLAP had been the first to fully fill in a constellation with Sov citadels. I was contacted by a member of the Honey Badgers who brought to my attention that they in fact had the full constellation of XLL tag Z7 in Aquarius filled in 2 months ago, making them the first to have fully solved out a constellation. This week, the little man continues making tremendous progress and growing bigger and stronger every day. He is currently weighing in at over 11 pounds and is 21 inches long. Since he was born prematurely, he is followed closely to make sure that he is making developmental milestones, and the hospital where he was born at runs a program that will keep evaluating him until he's at least 2 to 3 years old. This was his first follow-up evaluation with the neonatologist and the OT, where he received 2 very big thumbs up. Developmentally speaking, he is right on target. He is beginning to hold his head up and getting better control all the time, tracking movement and following sounds and making great eye contact. He even impressed the OT by bringing his hand to his mouth right when she asked his mom if he had done so yet. He is also demonstrating primary language skills. Aside from all the crying that he does when he's fussy or cranky, he is cooing. Even though we still get covered in baby spit up every so often, feeding is getting better and better. Now, if only we could make the same progress on him sleeping through the night, that would be great. So, a big update, and I really appreciate all of the community's outpouring and support for him and my family. Thank you to all those that ask me about him constantly through comms, voice chat, DMs, Discord, and everywhere else. I appreciate you all tremendously. This week I have no patch notes to go over due to the COVID outbreak in China, putting a temporary halt on NetEase's release of the exploration patch. Currently, we are on track to receive this patch on Friday the 4th. That being said, they did give us some more information on that upcoming patch. And you know me, I cut through all the lore and give you the facts of all of it and not take 20 minutes long doing so. Okay. When the patch drops, it's going to give us those scanning modules, the wide and the narrow resonance scanners. These will be dropped by pirates and anomalies for the MK series. Your storyline chests will now have a chance to drop a Meta 5 or Meta 8 variants of this as well. Now, in scouting anomalies, you will now have a chance to find rigs that will reduce your chance of being scanned down. These are going to be some big money makers. So between the new command burst modules and these, there are some big money to be made back in scout anomalies. Now, PvE scanning will now yield mixed belts as well as gravity wells leading to mixed belts, and for those dead spaces there is now a reduced chance of not only finding a regular dead space, but a Nihilus dead space within a gravity well. What does this mean? Well, I'm glad you asked. It means that you can now scan down hidden belts and higher profitable belts within Nihilus space, as well as those dead spaces, both the regular and the Nihilus dead space version as well. Now, as said in last week's episode, we are getting those 2 new modules for capsular outposts to open up gravity wells for both mining and dead spaces, and they can only be used in a Sov-bearing system once per week. The dead spaces themselves will be in 5 different flavors of the 5 different factions, each different with their own structure. You can receive new materials that can be reverse engineered into stronger modules, as well as nanocores. What is a nanocore? Well, they're a little bit of a glamour and a little bit of a rig of sorts. They come from in the variants of tier 1 through tier 4, just like rigs, and only tech level 1 and 2 can be traded openly on the market. The T3 and T4 cannot be traded at all. These nanocores, when added to your ship, will give it a degree of customization for your ship, maybe some glowing or some other cool effects, but they can also improve your modules, giving them additional abilities and attributes. Now, once fitted to your ship, they will need special materials to remove, and even if you when they can, they only refund a small portion of those materials. But the good news is that they are covered under insurance. So if you want to off your ship and you don't have the materials, fly it naked into Anomaly and get blown up for an instant recovery at the cost of the insurance. Now, on the industry side, they have added 2 new skills to the game for this as well: the Dead Space Module Reverse Engineering and the Nanocore Reverse Engineering. The first will allow you to use C-types to reverse into a B-type, and then, from B to A, and then from A to X, each time becoming harder and harder to reverse engineer. Think of it like reverse engineering for faction ships. A frig is much easier to reverse engineer that blueprint than a battleship. The next skill is the Nanocore Reverse Engineering, where you can reverse engineer these materials into nanocores, and we already went over what nanocores do. Now, with this, they are adding a new Battle Pass event for a limited time, and yes, most likely it will be a payable event like the last AUR one. With this pass, you can receive skill points, nanocore learning materials, and the rare thermomagnetic storm nanocores. Very cool additions that we hope will drive interest back into the game and bring more players back. In your Plex market report, we see the price of Plex stable at around 2.12 and 2.15 million per Plex. The blueprints of scanning rigs as well as the constructed rigs themselves has skyrocketed, and they left the market a little barren until the patch drops on Friday. Expect to pay a premium for these rigs currently. To start this week off, we had one of the largest battles since the Fight of LJ happened in KJ Tech V0P. It was a Content Coalition ACR Citadel in Hull, as the Pan-Gen 22 fleet of 300 chose to hit KJ instead of the Hull timer in C3. The Pan-Gen 22 fleet jumped across with a Void OG Warp fleet 5 jumps behind them, and what they jumped into was a standing fleet of 400 ACR laying in wait on the gate. The Pan-Gen 22 fleet burned back to the gate and their anchors as the hour-long slugfest began. By the time the Void OG Warp fleet arrived, the local count hit close to 800. Pan-Gen 22 was held at the gate, unable to get on grid of the Citadel, but at a cost to the Content Coalition's defensive fleet. I am told more than 250 ships were destroyed by Pan-Gen 22, while suffering losses of around 2/3 of their fleet. ACR kept piling in reinforcements to make sure they would held the gate. At the end of the fight, the Citadel was saved, and the Content Coalition would win the day. The footage I used was provided by Phoenix Tasador, and a link to the entire fight can be found in the description below. The big anticipation of a fight coming was for the WX hull timer of the Genesis Citadel becoming vulnerable on Tuesday. Plans on both sides were worked out during the weekend on both the defense and offense. ACR went as far as to have pilots fly into WX and log off and wait 8 hours before the timer became viable, outside of their Chinese prime time. The day of the battle, as the timer got closer and closer to go time, Genesis, in a surprise move, was able to mobilize over 700 ships, according to Momosaurus Rex of pure Genesis pilots. Pantheon had also said to have formed another 600 spread across along the pipe. The Content Coalition was able to gather 80 pilots from Void, Warp, and OG, and with the ACR fleet, they mustered around 600 for the offensive. I am told while the additional ACR fleet moved up the pipe, a Pantheon interceptor fleet led by Essen Carter was able to bleed off around 40 stragglers falling behind the main fleet. The local at its height pre-battle had reached over 1,300, and with the eyes on the numbers, outmanned and outgunned, the Content Coalition fleet had turned around just before crossing that WX system threshold. So, no battle, no SOV lost. However, Genesis had additional plans, as after that Citadel timer expired, they went out and deployed an additional 6 Citadels, giving Genesis their own SOV points on the map, not just acquired Citadels, bringing their total to 9 SOV systems. I am told these Citadels have been in a warehouse collecting dust being stockpiled. I reached out to Mamasaurus to ask if Genesis specifically waited for the exploration patch this week to deploy. She answered with yes and no. I specifically waited for my guys to show me that they wanted this. I'd say they did that today. We always said we would not drop until they were useful though, so today's drops are for that. This is a tiny portion of the citadels that GenFed has. She also concludes with that she is extremely proud of her guys and gals, good folks, and they are happy. From the north, we learn of the Silent Federation Citadel falling under the forgotten Fireflies, who Silent have been dealing with in the north. The Citadel in 6-Tech 05GY under the weight of a 95 battleship fleet. Alongside No, Please Stop, the Citadel was erased, as well as 80 to 100 silent ships, according to Tahini. I reached out to True Beast about the station lost, and he states that that particular location was very personal for them, and that they earned this one by showing up in a major way, camping the system for 18 hours. This would not be the only station to fall this weekend to Fireflies, who would go on to claim the Citadel in VTAC NL3K in the Veil of Silent. In a surprise announcement this week, True Beast has stepped down as Alliance leader of the Silent Alliance, appointing Nihilus as the new supreme leader of the Silent Alliance and Federation. A once humble line pilot with Pand back in September has risen through the ranks and will now shepherd Silent into this new era. In a statement, True Beast had this to say: "My watch has come to an end in the North. Silent requires an active leader that can support our diverse community. I really do believe that most important job for a leader in an MMO is to create a fun environment so that your players enjoy themselves. It's been fun, everyone. Hail Emperor Nihilus." I recently sat down with him to ask a few questions. The first being, was it a surprise to you that the keys of the kingdom were handed over to you by True Beast? Nihilus answers, "Everyone plays the game of Eve their way. This was mine. I loved working hand in hand with True Beast as he built the Silent Federation, and I worked harder every day to help and be as active as I could. I love Silent and the community around it and the players of Echoes. As the person who managed to now be in control of this great federation, I couldn't be happier. Surprised though? Like I said, everyone plays Eve their own way." I go on to ask, do you have the blessing of the power behind the curtain, Mr. Pay to Win? He answers, "Mr. Pay approves of my willingness to lead the Federation into the future. We have a good relationship, and he has in fact encouraged me to do my thing. The thing people don't realize about Mr. Pay is that there is nothing behind the curtain about this guy. He is the Silent, and I am happy to have such a powerhouse of a player backing my plays. My will, though, no mistake there." I go on to ask, Fireflies is painting the Citadel loss of Silent this week as a reason that True Beast has stepped down. Any truth to this? And what is your take on the Citadel loss itself? He replies, "True did not step down because of the loss of 6-Tac O. I am very happy Fireflies are celebrating taking a structure from Fed down. Grats to them. We took every single piece of Sov they own. And come scanning, they will lose the rest of their structures. My take on the Citadel loss is that my dear allies RSA just wanted a place and branch to settle down in, where the Fireflies Corp RIN lived before, and the wrecked debris from that, the former RIN Sov, was a nice thing to look at as we anchored in RS8. As to how the fight went down, we had some serious timing issues with other Sov concerns in the Federation in 3 other locations within a couple of hours of the 6-Tac-O timer that we knew we could defend. It was the call that we could not win the Firefly engagement. They were staged, working hard for over 12 hours before us, literally called out a "you will not sleep" order on social media. This group fielded a fantastic force, got their first piece of Silent Sov. They earned their victory. I was in that battle, and Fireflies was there to take down the Citadel, not engage Silent fleets. Their victory was one that they are entitled to mark however they want. No, Please Stop is also, of course, an impressive and formidable fleet, which we are proud to engage and scrap with. Thanks for both Fireflies and No for bringing combat content to the game and the Silent Federation. I asked, what are your plans for the Silent Federation moving forward? Any changes in the day-to-day, the long-term? He answers back, moving forward, I will make the Federation more efficient, engaged, and effective than ever before. The day-to-day will have a very engaged leader who checks in, gets in fleets, leads fleets, does deals, works Diplo, trolls Beck, terrorizes evil darkness, and threatens to blow up squabbling Federation members. Long-term goals will include a secure and stable North, active engagement in all aspects of New Eden, including development of a powerful military industrial complex Federation-wide, big ships, big explosions, and the daily beatings of both Beck and evil darkness. I ask, in the recent weeks, there has been information leaked about a possible team-up of Catch-22 and Fireflies. Does this change the outlook in the current powers in the North? Nihilus answers, if Catch-22 and Fireflies team up and they decide they want to pay us a visit, it is quite a long trip to get to us. Remember, Fireflies has no salve in the North, and we will get rid of each and every boss in our territory that doesn't belong to us or our allies. If they decide to take the trip, we will likely know before they are even undocked. If they are interested in the North, they can hit me up in-game, and I would be happy to give them a tour of Silent Territory for their corps to settle in after we destroy their organizations. Or they can reach out for discussions before they do anything too permanent. I finish up with you now at the helm, moving forward, will you retain the current status quo with Pantheon, or will there be strives to bluing them? And he finishes up with, I am looking forward to my discussions with Sun Banana. We have been chatting, but my UTC -7 to his UTC +3 just need to sync. Blue, red, gray, we'll see what the future holds when we make a decision. I enjoy trolling and chatting with Essen and Hot Dog, which I think are the equivalent of our Beck and Evil Darkness, so blue isn't off the table at all. And a surprising move by the new Silent Head was to declare war on OG and the rest of the Content Coalition aside from ACR. The aggression stems from bad blood between Ascended Legends of OG and Beck of Silent Alliance, who was kicked from the AL Discord. I am told that Silent has pilots in the area, but has not yet coordinated any attack on them. However, Ascended Legends and OG were hit by a Pantheon and T-Cosmos fleet, who hit all of their citadels, stripping them of their shields, as well as catching a AL multiboxer unaware and destroying his 4 ships, totaling in 43 billion in its damages. A Nightmare, a Balgorn, a Rattlesnake, and a Prophecy. This week I would like to announce that my Corp, EVO 1, mine as in I am a member of it, I am not part of leadership, has said goodbye to the land of unicorns as we continue our journey through New Eden, carving a path wherever we go. Does this give me a wanderer hobo traveling itch? Well, there has been speculation and wondering where we will lend our talents. Weird Bob's famous interceptor roams that, incidentally, for the month of May has caused over 100 trillion in damages to enemy ships, as well as our other talents. Names have been thrown around, such as staying within the Content Coalition as part of Warp or Void, or even ACR. People have wondered if we were switching over to possibly Catch-22, Pantheon, Genesis, or even Silent Alliance. Well, I am here to lay those rumors to bed and formally announce that EVO 1 will now be a part of the Genesis Federation. No hard feelings to OG. I personally have had a lot of fun flying with everyone there and have made even more friends during those travels. But saying goodbye, I wish you well and see you all on the grid. Now, I'm doing something a little new. It's sort of like a pilot spotlight, and this pilot has quite a long history in New Eden with a lot of corps and coalitions, not all of them good. His name is RedRocket, and I lended him my platform to put out an apology to the community of Eve Echoes. He states, "To the pilots of New Eden, I'd like to take this opportunity and give you a little insight on myself. But before I start, I'd like to thank Damon Zell for giving me this opportunity and chance to talk with the pilots so that they might have a better understanding of why I was the way I was earlier on in the game. So back at the beginning of this year, I had experienced a tragic loss, that of which my youngest son, who was only 2 years old, had wrapped himself up while sleeping and suffocated to death. Now, it's not clear to me why the person he was with had put a blanket that thick with a child of that size around him while he was sleeping, and an investigation is still ongoing to figure out if possible criminal charges could be placed upon said person. Anyways, after having received this news and watching them lower my flesh and blood tiny casket into the ground, I broke down mentally and physically. I've experienced loss before, but that had come from family being old or somebody with cancer, but never like this. A father is not supposed to bury a son or a daughter. Now, everyone grieves differently, and I didn't know how to make the pain go away. So the only way I thought of how to make the pain go away was to numb myself. Drinking and using illicit drugs, that was the only way I knew how to make the pain go away, even for a short period of time. But even that was not working, and during this time, I have been with Pantheon, and issues with the cosmos and I were becoming a daily thing. I had said and did things to everyone that I can't take back, but if I could, I would, and I would do so on that day. I was kicked out of Pantheon. I had been up for 4, maybe 5 days drinking and using, and I shouldn't have even been in the game. Now, after leaving Pantheon, for months I was broken still inside and did wrong to some very good people. It has only been recently that I have stopped using and drinking, and I am seeing someone daily to talk about my emotions and positive ways to heal. Because holding your thoughts in and not getting them out and using drugs and drinking is not the way to go. I know this now. So at this time, I would like to say to everyone that I've ever flown with any group I've ever been with, that I am truly and wholeheartedly sorry for the things I've done and said in-game during this time. Now, I'm not expecting everyone to wipe the board clean of these issues or comments, but if there's any way to make right on my end, please feel free to contact me on Discord or in-game, as I'm willing to do the right thing on my part. I know most of us have kids, and when you see your child hurt and hurt you, and I hope none of the parents out there ever have to go through the pain I went through, and still have to this day. Now again, thank you, Damon Zell, for this chance and opportunity to do this. This was not an easy thing to do or even put out for the galaxy to know, but I feel it needs to be done, and hopefully I can start making right to those I've done wrong. Again, thank you, and have a great morning, afternoon, and good night, New Eden. Fly safe, fly high, and salute. Sincerely, the pilot formerly known as RedRocket. Our Corp Alliance Spotlight this week goes to a corporation called Oz. Come join Oz and the Genesis Federation Alliance. Here at Oz, we are, at our heart, an industrial corporation. We offer low-cost ships built in-house for our members. We are a sovereignty corporation and a member of the Genesis Federation. Our guiding principle is that we provide an environment where all players can pursue their passion within this game without overbearing restrictions, requirements, or taxes. Play the game the way you want to play the game. It is our job as leadership of the corporation to support and encourage you in any endeavor you choose. Though we are an industrial-based corporation, you will find within our ranks dedicated PvP pilots, hardcore ratters, and all-star miners. Whatever it is you would like to do in EVE Echoes, you will find like-minded brothers and sisters here in Oz. Or mineral and PI buyback programs, and only 7% tax round out the many wonderful benefits of being part of our family. Join us as we make our mark on New Eden together. We are Oz. And that brings us to the bounty board this week. There are no new additions to the bounty board except one, if it's still active, Mombasaurus Rex has put out a 1 billion bounty on the bestower within WX that houses the ACR Citadel they were looking to plant. The bounties on A-Fish and Tahini have been rescinded from TrueBeast. We move on to the big kills of the week, and PHPC kicks us off with this 15.4 billion nightmare kill. Pew has also bagged themselves a nightmare kill of 16.3 billion, as well as a 12.9 Vindicator. OG this week claims this 3 billion Gila, as well as this 15.3 billion nightmare. Yeah, I did that. Sorry, new allies. CBX3 grabs this 3.4 billion Gila kill. Void nabs himself a 3.1 billion Ashimu. And BSD also showing faction love, killing this 2.8 billion Cinnable kill. Mug rounds this out with a 3.4 billion Gila kill. And now it's time for everyone's favorite, the solo kills of the week, and a chance to win a free Omega combo. Alright, let's go down the top 10 here. We start off with Cream Pie Donut with a 1.155 billion Succubus kill. Razak47 with a 1.232 billion Procurer kill. Rep has this 1.330 billion Armageddon. CNDL has a 1.343 Succubus kill. Vetamune has a 1.381 billion Daredevil kill. Crumbs with a 2.1 billion Vigilant kill. TFW with a 3.020 billion Cinnable kill. Miller with a 3.392 billion Bestower with an Outpost drop. Ernie has a 3.705 billion Capsular Outpost kill, and a first here on the solo kills of the week. And the winner this week of a free Omega combo, put your hands together for Honk's Employee of the Month, Badran, with this 9.8 billion Macarial kill. Bad, I know you know what to do by now. Now, those of you who've been sending me kill mails each week, I just want to go over the rules so you know. Each kill has to be between the episodes, the week of. It can't be old kills. Also, it can only have one participant on the kill mail. That includes NPC rats. And that's our show. Now, if you need more news in your life, I suggest you take your butt over there and listen to Rambo's Echoes of New Eden podcast. He has roundtable discussions, and if you want to be part of those roundtable discussions, please join his Discord. And he also has interesting interviews with New Eden celebrities, FCs, you name it. So for me, everyone have a great week, have a great weekend, fly safe, and remember, we are always one vision, one purpose, one front.